but we're not going to let anything turn us around. We're not going to let no dogs turn us around, no water hoses turn us around, no police clubs or jail sentences, and we're not going to let any injunctions turn us around. And so today I say to you, in the pro-life movement, no Planned Parenthood is going to turn us around. No biased media is going to turn us around. No HHS mandate is going to turn us around. No Obama administration is going to turn us around. We are marching for a certainty. And it's not only the certainty that we will arrive at the day of victory for the unborn, it is a certainty that the power which now dismembers them and crushes them and throws them in the garbage is a power which at its root has already been defeated.
Well, I'll tell you, Father Frank, it's amazing that we're actually sharing the stage with you. When Jason and I were kids, we met you in 1988.
Yes.
You look the exact same. He's got the same hair, the same glasses, and the same outfit. In 1991, that was the height of abortion. It was 2,197 freestanding abortion clinics in America. Today, thanks to the work of Priests for Life and other organizations and Christians and Catholics joining hands and uniting for life, there are less than 600 freestanding abortion clinics in America.
Well, good evening, friends. Father Frank Pavone here, National Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to our evening broadcast. It has been another full and busy day. Loading down on the Democrats. My goodness. Anybody, I just was sending an email just now to a Catholic journalist. I said, anybody in the church today, I was talking especially about clerics, who doesn't see that the Democrats pose a serious danger to the common good and to the rights of the church, either has his head in the sand or in a Democrat echo chamber. It's really bad. It's never been so bad. I've worked in election campaigns with Priests for Life since 1994. It's never been as bad as it is now. The damage, the danger, the hatred, the poison, the absolute sickness on the Democrat side of the aisle. This isn't me. It's them. It's their fault that we have to say these things. And my goodness, it's never been worse. I am going to make it very clear in the coming weeks prior to the election that nobody running on the Democrat platform deserves one single vote in any race across the country. This Democrat Party needs to go out of existence, and that needs to happen now. They are a danger to America. They are a danger to the church. They have blood on their hands of a holocaust of unborn children. They are ripping up the Constitution. They are ripping up God's plan for marriage. They are evil. They have allied themselves with evil. It wasn't always that way. It wasn't always that way. But the fact of the matter is, now it is. Now it is. And how on earth are we following Jesus' admonition to pay attention to the signs of the times? He uses meteorological references, right? You remember that passage in the Gospels. He says, how can you not see the signs of the times when ordinary people can notice the changes in the weather? This is one of the signs of the times. The Democrat Party has allied itself with America haters, God haters, Constitution haters, church haters, haters of the unborn. And friends, we can't stand for that. We can't be silent about that. Well, talking about being silent, there was a cardinal who was anything but silent at the time when another evil party arose on the scene, the Nazi regime. You ever heard of Cardinal Clemens von Galen? Look him up, Clemens von Galen. Let me read from our Pro-Life Reflections for Every Day for today, starting with Psalm 147, verse 6. The Lord sustains the poor, but humbles the wicked in the dust. Reflection. In 1941, German Cardinal Clemens von Galen preached against the Nazi euthanasia program. He declared, quote, "These numerous cases of unexpected death in the case of the insane are not natural, but often deliberately caused and result from the belief that it is lawful to take away life which is unworthy of being lived. Once admit the right to kill unproductive persons, then none of us can be sure of his life." End of quote. Let us pray. Inspire your preachers, Lord, with the courage we see in Cardinal von Galen. Amen. You know, he was raised to the honors of the altar, and in the Vatican ceremony in which that happened not too many years ago, the cardinal who was giving the sermon said, we face similar circumstances in our day with the threats against human life. Threats which, as the Second Vatican Council said, require us to pass moral judgment even in matters relating to politics. You see, our judgment about what's going on does not in and of itself constitute a political judgment per se in its origin and in its nature. It is a moral judgment. But you see, when you make a moral judgment, you're saying something is good and something is evil, right? So when you're making a moral judgment in matters relating to politics, as the Second Vatican Council said we need to do, Gaudium et Spes number 76, and then that was taken into the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and it was taken into the Code of Canon Law, and it's reflected in the Compendium of the Social Doctrine of the Church, and it's reflected in Evangelium Vitae, and we can go on, all the different documents of the Church. When you have to pass a moral judgment relating to politics, and therefore you're identifying good and you're identifying evil, if a political party or platform has so identified itself with that evil, then your moral judgment against the evil is necessarily political in its effect. In its effect. Not in its initiating motive, because all things being equal, the church is neutral on political matters. The Lord didn't give the church a political mission. The church is not a political party. He gave the church a religious mission. But part of that religious mission is to pass moral judgment. Otherwise, how can you lead people in the ways of God if you can't tell right from wrong? So, of course, that doesn't mean people won't try. That doesn't mean we don't have all kinds of church leaders who try to be actually morally neutral. They end up looking like idiots, but they try to be morally neutral. Can't do it. Or then, of course, when they realize they can't do it, some of them end up endorsing evil. Then they don't only look like idiots, they look like fools. But brothers and sisters, when with a clear mind, we pass moral judgment, calling good good and calling evil evil, again, think about it this way. If a political party embraces evil, look at what Cardinal Clemens von Galen did with the Nazis. Was he supposed to say, hey, folks, euthanasia, yeah, that's a terrible thing, but we got to be politically neutral. Can't say anything bad about the Nazis. You tell me how that's different from people today who say, oh, well, yeah, abortion is terrible and crushing religious freedom, that's awful. People have rights, people have dignity. But can't say anything bad about the Democrats. What fools. What idiots. Yes, we can say something bad about the Democrats, and it's their fault. Because when a political party identifies itself with, embraces, enters into a covenant with evil, you tell me what choice we have but to call it out. Okay, so we have an election. The enthusiasm on the side of the president is way, way, way surpassing, leaving in the dust the tepid level of support of Biden. Oh, sure, it's easy for people to say national polls don't mean anything, because that's not how elections are decided. And people who like to, answer the pollster's question, that doesn't mean they're going to go into the voting booth and fill out the ballot. The tepid response to Joe Biden. Well, what do you want from someone who can hardly put a sentence together and stays in the basement all the time? Yeah, they let him out every once in a while, but hope he doesn't say too much. Because that'll give evidence of how incoherent he is. And when he is coherent, that'll give evidence of how absolutely evil his policies are. So the enthusiasm margin is definitely on our side. And you know what? That's what wins elections. It's not just a matter of voting. It's a matter of pushing, pounding the pavement, calling other people, making those phone calls, knocking on those doors. We've got armies and armies of volunteers growing every day, coming out and activating the voters. We've got mailings going out and emails going out and social media posts being posted and all kinds of online events being held, and on it goes. It's wonderful. It is awesome. It is awesome. Yes, we're on the right track, brothers and sisters. We are on the right track. Now, the race, however, is not simply about the presidency. It's also about every level of government, both on the federal level and on the state level. And tonight, I want to actually play for you an interview I did recently with someone in Iowa. I'll tell you about her in a moment. And we're talking especially about the Senate races. Now, this is important. As important as getting President Trump into office for another 4 years is getting a Republican Senate reelected. Why? Because presidency plus Senate equals courts. Again, president plus Senate equals courts. This is how the federal judges, including the Supreme Court justices, are chosen and confirmed and placed on the bench. You know this, or most of you know this. This is how our system works. This is how our Constitution is written. 40 years from now, court opinions will be coming down, written by Trump-appointed judges. Who knows what the issues of the day will be at that time? But 40 years from now, your grandchildren will be reading about court decisions handed down by Trump-appointed judges. That's the legacy. That's the power. That's the consequence of an election. Generational. It's not just about the next 4 years. It's about the next 40 years. And that's why the Senate, oh my goodness, it's so important. Iowa is one of those places where there's a key Senate race where we've got to keep the Republican incumbent in office. Montana is another. Some of you may be from Montana who are watching tonight. Colorado is another. Anybody from Colorado out there? You've got an important Senate race. North Carolina, another important Senate race. Alabama. How do you guys elect a Democrat? Alabama. Get him out of there. You got to get him out of there. Alabama is another important Senate race. There's a bunch of them. Georgia has 2. Both Georgia's U.S. Senate seats are on the ballot this election, this fall. So, hey, Patricia from Colorado, God bless you. I know you're doing the right thing. Thank you for being with us. And we want to help you. We want to help you and all your friends out there in Colorado to spread the word about the Senate race and Andrea's from Colorado too. This is great. Listen, we need your help, and we're doing actually various conference calls. I was on one just last night with the folks from Wisconsin, Michigan, by the way, important Senate race there as well. Could be a good pickup over there. But what I'm saying is we're going to organize various conference calls with people from different states to talk about the Senate races. And so my friends from Colorado and those of you from those other states I've mentioned, and there are others too, of course, that have Senate races. They're all important. If you go to prolifevolunteer.com, you can sign up for, it's a simple form. We respect your time, and we know that people have sometimes just a little bit of time to give, sometimes a lot. But any way that you can help us to spread the word, we'll give you some. I'm sure you're active in your own communities already, but we'll give you talking points and other ways to assure victory in these elections. So go to prolifevolunteer.com. If you fill out that form, then we'll let you know when we're having these different trainings and conference calls and whatnot. And by the way, I want to go back to a question that was asked the other night, and I can see all your comments right here in front of me, whatever platform you're on. They come right on the screen. That's why sometimes you'll see my eyes go a little bit away from directly on the camera. I'm seeing you. I'm seeing your comments. And so keep them coming. But I love the questions that you ask, and sometimes we're not able to get to every last one of them. But here's the thing I'm remembering from the other day. One of our viewers asked a really great question. He says, what can I do in this election if I'm in a very left-leaning state? And we know we've got a handful of those around the country. A left-leaning state. Well, a number of things to be considered. The state as a whole might be left-leaning and may have been that way for a long time. No state is permanently that way, by the way. And the votes of the minority in those states, the electoral minority, nevertheless are key. We have to keep hearing your voice, and the nation has to keep hearing your voice. But There are House races. So we also have to get the House of Representatives out of the hands of these abortion-loving, America-hating Democrats. And the House of Representatives, there are some seats we can pick up in very left-leaning states because the districts, see, U.S. Senate is different because the senators have to appeal to the whole state, and the whole state gets a voice in whether they get elected. But the House seats, which are based on geographic districts, which of course are smaller, are very often very conservative and very red, even in the bluest of states. So some of the pickup seats that we can get in the House are in California, New York, New Jersey. And so first of all, when you're in a left-leaning state or a very blue state, you see, actually, I think blue, I think we should switch the colors. And this is just commentary, but I think we should switch the colors of the political parties because Democrats, they deserve red as a symbol of blood. They have blood on their hands. But as we know, as it is, they're blue and the Republicans are red. Wanda, thank you for mentioning. You heard me in Bismarck, North Dakota. I remember that visit. That was really, really fun. That was really, really great. Tennessee, a very important, a very left-leaning state. Colorado, Patricia is saying it has not always been that way, but we feel our hands are tied. It has been getting worse, hasn't it? I know. Sadly, it's been getting much worse there politically. But here's the other thing too, that aside from making your voice and your vote heard in your own state and continuing to educate voters and challenging, the pro-abortion politicians and candidates, challenging them. You see these Senate races, challenge the Democrat senators. Will you vote against late-term abortion, or are you in favor of late-term abortion? And what about infanticide? The Congress has had these bills saying that we have to increase the protections for babies born alive after a failed abortion. Challenge these candidates, these Democrat candidates, if you've got one running in your state for U.S. Senate, as to whether or not, given the opportunity, they would vote for a law to save a baby outside the mother's womb. It'd be interesting to see what they say. But let other people, and in a sense it doesn't matter how or whether they answer the question. If you ask it publicly, it's a win-win situation. Because if people see that they can't answer a basic question like that, which should be pretty simple, or people hear them give the wrong answer or equivocate on it, well, that's all they need to know to see that there's a lack of character and a lack of leadership in that person. But here's the other part of my answer to the person who was saying, what do I do in a left-leaning state? You can call people in other states. Priests for Life, Susan B. Anthony List, Ralph Reed's organization, Catholic Vote, and there's various other groups that are doing these phone calls, and the political parties too. Contact the national, the Republican National Committee or the Trump campaign, and you'll see opportunities to volunteer to make phone calls. You might be in a very blue state, but you can be making phone calls to encourage voters in the red states to get out and make a difference, or in the swing states to get out and make a difference. So no matter where you are, you can help the effort in the places where things are a whole lot more close electorally than they might be in your state. You never lose your voice. You never lose your opportunity to make a difference. So again, there's a website, armyfortrump.com. You can sign up with the Trump campaign to be a person making phone calls or doing other kind of volunteer activities, armyfortrump.com. And then again, prolifevolunteer.com. If you want to check with us about these kinds of opportunities, we can connect you with any of these other groups that are doing things and give you some guidance and helpful ideas. To make the most of the tomorrow's 101 days, Sunday it'll be 100 days till the election. 100 days. That's what we have left. Let's use each and every one of them to make a difference. So I told you I wanted to show you an interview clip tonight. I recently talked again. I've interviewed her a number of times on these channels. Tana Goertz, she came to know Donald Trump many years ago. And when he decided to run for president, he asked her to help him win the state of Iowa, which she did quite effectively. She is an Iowan. She is a wonderful, wonderful activist. He is pushing hard, not only for the president, but also for Senator Joni Ernst there in Iowa, important Senate race this year. I'd like to share with you now it's always an energetic, exciting interview with Tana. I'd like to share with you now the conversation I had with her just the other day, and then we'll come back and I'll have some closing comments at the end. Let's watch now Tana Goertz. Well, friends, welcome to our program. Father Frank Pavone here, National Director of Priests for Life. You have seen her before. You have heard her before. She has been one of our favorite guests on our program, and she's back again today from the great state of Iowa. Tana Goertz, she is on Team Trump. She is an inspirational speaker. She is an inspiration to me, and I hope to all of you. Tana, how are you?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your kind words.
Oh, you're the best. You are really the best. I know why President Trump saw in you the qualities that would make you, basically win the state of Iowa for him last time around. And we're going to do it again this time, aren't we?
Yes. My goodness. We have to do it again. We've got a country to keep.
We sure do. And the president made that very clear in his remarks at Mount Rushmore. You know, he is so creative and innovative, he and his whole team, to do something like that on the night before Independence Day. You were there personally, weren't you? Tell us about it.
Oh, I was there. I got to bring my husband, and it was such a treat. And really, the behind the scenes for me was, I know how much President Trump loves our country and loves our flag and loves our veterans, loves our independence. So to me, to be able to hear his remarks with the backdrop of Mount Rushmore, it's such a majestic backdrop, and there he was, this man that I respect and admire and love so much. That warmed my heart. But just to know how much he loves our country and everything patriotic about it, and to be there and watch him and Melania watch the fireworks meant so much to him. And that warmed my heart because I know how much this country means to him. Why else would a billionaire put his career, put his life at stake for all of us if he doesn't love our country?
No, that's right. He doesn't have to endure all these attacks that he gets from every direction and the hatred of the media. And here he is saying to us, I want to do it again. I want to do it for another term. And someone can only be doing this because of love of country. What struck you most in his message at Mount Rushmore? I mean, it seemed to me, in the very best sense of the term, to really be a declaration of war. I mean, he was talking to our enemies directly, domestic enemies, and he was saying, we're not going to take any of this. We know who we are as Americans. We're proud of it, and we're going to defend and promote our country and its history. How did his speech strike you?
I thought it was his best to date. And that's saying a lot because, you know, I originally was his original hype girl. I can't hype him any more than I do. But hearing that speech, I thought was his best to date. What you didn't know, nor did President Trump know, well, maybe he did because I was texting Don Jr. as it was happening, was there were protesters prohibiting people like myself, and I think there was 7,500 people in the audience, approximately 4,000 people, including myself. We were blocked entrance to the entrance of getting into Mount Rushmore. There were protesters there that had brought vans, slashed the tires, broke glass, and now we were 3 miles long, backed up, 3 hours in advance, entering the Mount Rushmore access route. to me, that struck me as they're trying it again. They want to have Oklahoma round two. Here we go again. So what President Trump did right at Mount Rushmore was said, you're not going to win. I ran on being a law and order candidate, and I am going to make sure that this country is a law and order country, and we are respected and protected. I loved it. He didn't know what was happening behind the scenes, but it was not good.
Yeah, I saw some of it on our friends at Right Side Broadcasting were right there on the scene when that blockade was created unexpectedly. And, I tweeted at that moment, I said, this is why President Trump wins this election, because the people who are opposing him, they're acting as if, they don't know how to, or they don't want to use the political process. I mean, the political process in our country gives anyone and everyone the right to declare any message they want and to try to persuade others of that message. But these people want nothing to do with that process or with that system. All the arguments they have left are to say to us, you can't have your assembly, you can't have your speech, you can't do what you want to do. And that's not an argument at all. That's just brute force.
I agree. I said, oh my gosh, nobody's going to keep me from my president. And so I said to my husband, let's put on our walking shoes and let's walk up the mountain. So I asked one of the officers, can we take off on foot? How far is it? And he looked at me and he's like, ma'am, it's far. And I go, honey, I'm built for this. I can do it. And my husband's like, Tana, I don't think your feet are going to make it. And I said, I'll bleed for my president. And guess what I did? I did bleed for him. My feet are still trashed from walking. So
that's what you did. You walked it.
We walked up until we reached the disruption. We walked about a mile till we reached all the disruption. And the policeman, not wanting to make any problems, they said, could you please turn around and go back to your car? We can't allow you to go forward. And I'm like, wait, what? You're allowing them to block 4,000 people and you don't want to let me take the mountain? I'm ready to rock. And they said, ma'am, turn around and go back to your car. So they made me turn around. But yes, I thought President Trump just stood there and he addressed every single one of them and said, it's not going to work. Turn your tune around because I'm not going to allow this. We will respect our law enforcement officers. I will always protect them. I'm never going to defund our police. And he wants this country to be safe again. How can it be safe with a Joe Biden presidency who wants to defund the police?
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you, Tana. And for those, by the way, who are just joining us, we're talking with Tana Goertz from Iowa. She's an inspirational speaker, and she is a vibrant member of Team Trump. Tana, is it fair to say, or is it an exaggeration, that when we see this radical behavior from the hard left in our country, that essentially what we're also seeing is the Democrat Party lining up with them?
Oh, absolutely. The Democratic Party could do so much to help our economy, to help Americans, but they're not. They're allowing this craziness, this vile behavior, ruin families, ruin communities, ruin the law enforcement officers that put their life on the line for every single one of us every single day. How could they dare say that they're American when they are allowing people to destroy our country, to riot, to be disgraceful, to be destructive, to be quite frankly evil? This is a terrible time that we're in. And I swear it was the strangest thing, Father, but not to you because you're a man of God. The funniest thing is, my husband being a meteorologist was like, oh, there's could be possible sketchy weather here tonight. He was checking radar and everything. And I'm always, the optimist going, we'll be fine. Literally, President Trump spoke. He got in Marine One, flew out in lightning, and he hadn't even left the premises practically. And there was a torrential downpour that we were all running down below in the parking lot, just having a great time, having a big old MAGA party underneath the parking structure. And it was like God spared the president all that humiliation of getting soaking wet. He also, I was thinking, God forbid if one firecracker could have caught fire. Of course, firemen were all on the scene, would have put it out. But the liberal media, the fake news, they would have loved that. So the torrential downpour put out any fire that could have possibly been. And I was like, once again, I believe he's a man called of God.
I believe so too, and I'm waiting for the Democrat leaders to speak up against all this unrest and this trashing of our country's history and all this lawless behavior. And I mean, it's like, hello, are you there? And I don't know. Tana, as you know, we not only have to reelect the president, we've got to give him a Congress that's going to implement his agenda. And in particular, of course, the U.S. Senate, which has been doing such a great job in confirming his now 200 federal judges across this land on all three levels of the federal courts. It is so important in this election are the Senate races. And you've got a key Senate race there in the state of Iowa. Senator Joni Ernst personally. I've met her on a number of occasions. I know that she's been such a great asset to us in the pro-life cause and in many other causes. Talk to us about the importance of the Senate races and in particular what we might encourage our friends in Iowa to know about this great senator who's seeking re-election.
Great question. Thank you for asking it. A lot of people don't realize that when everybody else wins, the president wins. When the president wins, everybody else wins. But we got to get people to understand Joni Ernst. I do know Senator Ernst very well. She is a wonderful lady. She is a veteran. A lot of people don't know that. So she is a tough woman. She's a veteran. She is a mother. She is such a strong leader. Joni Ernst works so hard for not only all Iowans, but Iowan farmers. She works so hard. She is hitting the pavement every single day. Everywhere I go, I see Joni. Her supporters need to realize that this is a woman that will have your back. I know she has been to D.C. in the Oval Office numerous times with our president, fighting for biofuels and fighting for ethanol and fighting for our farmers and fighting for agriculture. She's a woman who's just salt of the earth, down to earth, an Iowan. And her opponent's just got a ton of money being poured into her. A lot of these Democratic races are just being funded by people who despise President Trump so much that they don't want to see another win. They don't want another wonderful thing to happen, that his scoreboard is just getting longer and longer and longer by the day, as you know, Father Frank. And so what's happening is Senator Ernst, her opponent, is getting flooded with millions of dollars. And that's really hard to compete with. But I do know that Senator Ernst is a woman of hard work, ethics. She's got the stamina. She's high energy like myself and the president. I would highly suggest anybody in the Midwest get involved. If nothing else, you can make calls for Senator Joni Ernst or donate if that's part of your, caliber of resources. There's not enough that you can't do. There's not enough you can do, actually. We're very, very close to the end, and we cannot allow the Democrats to take over our Senate and our presidency. We need them in this important time.
Well, Senator Ernst has been supporting the president's judges, of course, and she'll continue to do so. I mean, imagine the change that will happen in the federal judiciary with another 4 years of both President Trump and a strong Republican Senate, because he's already broken the records. He's already promised, he and Senator Mitch McConnell, another great senator that we need to stay in there, that they would leave no vacancy. It's amazing. The president tells a story, as you well know, that when he took office, he said, what are all these vacancies that President Obama left behind? In other words, federal judgeships that were empty because they retired and they never got replaced. He has filled all of those vacancies, and now he's promising, when I come to the end of my first term, there's not going to be any vacancies left to fill. And it is going to be an amazing transformation if we can give him another 4 years of this.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's kind of like a teacher going to the students and seeing all these empty homework assignments. President Trump does his homework. President Trump wants to fill every box. He wants to use every dollar to our advantage to help American families, to bring people out of poverty, to help the homeless. To help any American family, lower our taxes, make middle-class America rich, get people back to work. Get them off of food stamps. You don't have enough time in the show for me to go on how many amazing things he wants to do, but people need to get out of his way. This is a man that has done all of this in in 4 years and has had nothing but obstruction and people getting in his way, people tarnishing his name, people not letting him do his job. If people would get out of his way, you guys have no idea the amount of amazing things that this man will do for America. And when he says at the end of every rally, the best is yet to come, believe him. It's true.
You know, and I want to dwell on that point for as our concluding point. But before I get there, just a quick reference back. You talked about Senator Ernst's opponent bringing in lots of money. A lot of this money is coming from outside the state of Iowa, I would presume.
I would agree. Yeah, most of it is coming from out of the state of Iowa. Isn't that shocking?
Well, that's an important point for Iowa voters to understand. It's like, you know, wait a second. The senator from Iowa is supposed to be representing, and she is representing, as you've articulated, the interests of the people of Iowa.
Right.
These outsiders, you know, they don't live in Iowa, and they don't necessarily share the values of Iowa. What they want is someone in that Senate seat that's going to vote their way when it comes, especially to the courts. I'm convinced that that's what's motivating them the most.
Oh, absolutely.
What kind of Supreme Court justice is going to replace Ginsburg, you know, or replace Breyer? And you know, it's really selfish, you know, of a Senate candidate claiming that, you know, Iowa is you know, the what's going to be represented.
Oh yeah.
Where meanwhile, no, they're just going to kowtow to the hard left when it comes to judges and all sorts of other things.
It's just like President Trump said. Corrupt politicians. Here we go again.
Yeah.
Bring in money, acting like you are the voice of America or of Iowans, and I want to donate to your cause because you care so much about Iowans. She won't even debate Senator Ernst. Senator Ernst, who's an amazing debater, she knows all of her topics. She says, "Let's have a one-on-one debate. Let's go." She won't even debate Senator Ernst. So
that should be a red flag.
It is
a red flag, yeah, for all the people of Iowa.
The people of Iowa want. She doesn't even know Iowa. So I pray that people will. This is corrupt money. They want to corrupt. They want to be able to say a vote, Democratic vote. Oh, look at that. So you're 100% right. What's happening? People need to open up their eyes. They need to realize we need another 4 more years of this great president and all of the wonderful people who aren't career politicians and aren't corrupt working underneath him to push his agenda.
So let's go to this point about the best is yet to come, because I tell you what this tells me about this president. And, you know, not too long ago, he was right very close to our headquarters here in Florida. He was just across the road here at NASA when we sent up the first manned vehicle in a very long time to the space station. Now, that was a very inspirational day. The president gave another marvelous speech that day. And, you know, it seems to me that it encapsulated this quality. You know the president very well from before he became president. So I want to get your thoughts on this. You know, when he talks in a positive way. He talks in an optimistic way. And he talks in a frontier kind of way. In other words, the American spirit is, you know, let's conquer new territory. I mean, that's how this country expanded, right?
Yes.
That's how the country was discovered in the first place. Let's go forward. Let's conquer what we haven't conquered yet. Let's be the first country to get to the moon and plant our flag there. And we were. And now the president is saying, let's go to Mars. And he says, we're going to be the first ones to get to Mars. And people might think, well, what is that about? What it's about is the American spirit. We conquer. We move forward. It's a forward-thinking, positive mindset that there are more frontiers for humanity to conquer. And in doing so, we expand our knowledge, our wisdom, and our ability to serve one another. Isn't this positive, forward-thinking spirit one of the best characteristics of this president?
It's one of the things I love most about him. You are so right. Like myself, I never rest on my laurels. I never go, wow, you made it. That's awesome. I always want to be bigger. I always want to be better. I always want to be improving. Just like Donald Trump. I mean, I learned from the man. He was America's business icon 15 years ago. I learned this all from him. He always wants to be better. He's done so much in 4 years, and he says, I want to get going. I want to do more. Get out of my way. And the best is yet to come. He's always positive. He's not a naysayer. He's not a downer. He's never had a bad day. I've been with him so many times. He never has a bad day. He may be a little angry at something or like, oh, what happened? Because his level of excellence is so high. His bar is so high. He's not like everybody else, like Obama. Like you said, there was gaps. There was voids. There was things that hadn't gotten done because Obama didn't care. He was just sitting in the office taking a paycheck. As we know, our great president is working for free for you, for me, and for all of us. Isn't that wonderful?
Amazing. It's amazing. It's so wonderful. Well, it's always wonderful to have you. So, Tana, how can people get in touch with you?
They can find me on my website at heytana.com, heytana.com, or
Okay,
on social media.
Perfect. And especially our friends in Iowa, please follow what Tana is doing. Get inspired, get in on that Senate race, and let's win Iowa for the president. Tana, you're the best. It's always great to talk to you. And we look forward to doing so again very soon.
Thank you for having me, and God bless you, and God bless America.
Amen.
Thank you.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk with Tana, and I thought you'd enjoy that interview as well, friends. Thanks for your great comments that are coming through. You know, let me echo again a point I made at the end of that interview. You look at what the radical left is doing now, and the tearing down of statues, and the heaping all kinds of criticism on our country. They've got their heads stuck in the past. Oh, this person back then was a racist, and this person back then was terrible. They got their heads stuck in the past. And they don't know how to advance. They don't know how to grow America because they don't like America. They don't believe in America anymore. So they're not going to be the ones to let this country continue to expand in our conquests, whether it's Mars or just better health care or better anything, better economy. You know, it was the president that got our economy up to the strongest point it's ever been in our history, and it been the stronger than anywhere in the world before this medical problem came over from China and caused all sorts of chaos. But it was the president and his team that got our economy up to a height that had never been before. Got the median income of Americans up to a point where it had never been before. Got the unemployment levels down to where they had never been before. And he can do it again. He can do it again. He is doing it again. Record numbers of jobs, the last 2 monthly reports, right? 8 million jobs. Nobody predicted that. Better than ever. Stock market has been high, and things are getting back. Things are getting back. And they'll continue to improve. And forward-looking, positive thinking, determined spirit, measured and intelligent optimism. That's what America is about. Courage. Oh, beautiful for patriots' dreams that see beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam undimmed by human tears. It's just beautiful. Our patriotic songs express this spirit. Oh, beautiful for pilgrims' feet whose stern, impassioned stress a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. And as they did it across the wilderness of this great land, President Trump is leading us to do so across the wilderness of space, to bring our flag to the planet Mars. This stirs the imagination, expands the human soul. Isn't that what the gospel does? Isn't that what Catholic thought does and Catholic history? Whether it's in art, education, healthcare, the intellectual pursuits of the great doctors of the church and so many others who set up the educational system. My goodness, and people sometimes can't get their heads beyond a tweet that the president sends out or something that he said 20 years ago. These are small-brained people, small-minded people, feeble thought in these people. We've got to think big thoughts, strong thoughts, conquering thoughts. That's what this president has. If you spend 5 minutes listening to him, that's what this president has. And, oh, Robert, thank you for asking. I'm saying, this is a good question, because sometimes people ask me, why do you have a picture with President Trump behind you? And now Robert, thank you, God bless you, Robert, is asking, where's the picture of President Trump behind me? Well, we move it around. This is a set in our TV studio, and we did a lot of taping today of all different things, and so we're constantly moving things around. Actually, I have it right over here. Oh, we didn't put it back yet. We have different sets for different purposes, but here he is. Here he is. So we actually hang this up in the hallway out in our main lobby area, and then for a lot of broadcasts we bring it in here. But the set, as with any studio, we've got a number of movable sets, and we did a lot of taping today of a lot of different things. We did a special taping. I should tell you about this. For pregnancy centers, with the pandemic, pregnancy centers usually have their annual banquets, and I speak at a lot of them across the country. Janet Morana, our executive director, does. Alveda King and our other priests and pastoral associates will constantly go into pregnancy centers. And this year, all the spring events, and now increasingly the events in the fall, are events that have had to be held virtually. And so Alveda and Janet and I and our other speakers are sometimes asked to come in on video hookup or to make videos to be played at these virtual events. So I was doing, both Alveda and I were doing a lot of taping today for a special video, and Heartbeat International of Miami is working on this, that will be put together and used at pregnancy center events virtually all over the country starting next month. And we were just so very pleased to do that, and delighted to do that. We'll have some broadcasts dedicated entirely to the topic of the pregnancy centers and the work that they do. And I know some of you that are watching are not only supporting your local pregnancy centers, some of you work at those centers and volunteer for those centers. God bless you for doing that. They're on the front lines. You're saving lives. And fortunately, friends, as you may well know, we have got these pregnancy centers now who are saving lives from abortion outnumber the killing centers, outnumber the abortion centers by a ratio of 5 to 1. Isn't that awesome? It's really awesome. Vicky is asking, why don't pro-life groups pray the rosary in front of state houses? I like that very much. Now, it has happened. I have done it. Various groups have invited me to come with them. There are gatherings in front of state houses, and a lot of our Christian brothers and sisters in other denominations are doing things like that on different occasions. Some of them have organized prayer. And by the way, the National Day of Prayer, you often have that kind of thing happening. But it is a good idea. One of the reasons being that the activity in the state legislatures is just as important as what happens at the federal level, because we are a nation of states. We are 50 states, the United States of America. So we are united, but each state has its own constitution, its own governor, its own lawmaking body, its own court system. Each state is its own government. So so rallying in front of the state houses is an important effort, because A, it reminds us of that, and B, it gives our state legislators, who are also, of course, up for re-election this year, and we got to be paying attention to those races, it gives them a reminder of who we are, where we stand, and where we want them to stand. So Cheryl is saying, Father, you work 24 hours a day, don't you? Well, I do get some good sleep, but when I wake up, and I'm neither bragging nor complaining, but when I wake up, I go right to my desk. I live right here, and I go right to my desk, and up until I go into my bed to go to sleep, I'm at my desk. Now, of course, during this pandemic, I haven't been traveling. A lot of us haven't been traveling. If I'm not at my desk, I'm on the road giving a talk, strategizing and meeting with pro-life leaders, meeting with government officials who are doing any or all of that kind of thing. But today, for example, we did a lot of taping here in the studio. I had various meetings with our election team. We have staff working in various parts of the country. And we had various planning meetings with our election team. I had planning meetings with our website team. I had planning meetings with our social media team. We did, I had to respond to, well, this morning before breakfast, I spent about 2.5 hours at my desk preparing some mailings that are going out, preparing for a conference call with pro-life leaders, preparing for another video event for our election people, approving some newsletters for publication, sending out some emails to individual leaders, preparing for a radio program for next Tuesday. I had to actually edit some sound files. So I'll say this last thing. I don't want to be just talking about myself, but today, July 24th, 2020, I can tell you honestly, I have as much enthusiasm and energy for this work, as much joy and eager anticipation for the progress of this work, as I did the very first day that I started doing it. And the Lord continues to bless me with that focus, energy, and certainty, the conviction that this is what I need to be doing. I never had a moment's doubt that I'm called to be a priest, never had a moment's doubt that I'm called to do pro-life work full time. So thanks for the encouragement. It's encouragement to hear from you, to have you cheer me on. And once again, here he is. 4 more years, brothers and sisters. 4 more years. Not only for the good of America, but for the good of the world. Of the world. Of the world. All of us together. We're going to play the president's speech this weekend that he gave in Warsaw a few years ago. Remember that speech just a couple of years ago in Warsaw? Boy, talk about a speech for freedom, for the preservation of human dignity, for the faith, the thirst of the Polish people for God, the thirst of all the world for God. Every day I want to play one of the speeches of the president, every single day. Today we played one, the one that he gave at NASA that I was talking with Tana about for a few minutes there in our interview. The speech in Warsaw, oh my gosh, another really great one, really great, really just, we have to hear from his own lips. We have to hear from his own mouth the convictions that he has. You know, who would you, if you wanted to find out what a person really thought, would you listen to the person or would you listen to people who hated the person? The media hates him. Don't try to understand what our president stands for. And some people you know what annoys me is how people so easily jump to conclusions and take as gospel what is no better than gossip. Or worse, is calumny or slander. The way that the media, the mainstream media, the fake news, they're really so stupid and so evil. I mean, their questions are really stupid. I mean, I listened to some of the questions they asked the president at these briefings, in regard to the coronavirus, well, Mr. President, you said back in the spring that this was going away, and now there's your resurgence. So when you look at that, do you take responsibility, that it's your fault? Oh, yeah, I'm sure the president went into his office and there's a special button there. It's a whole bunch of different buttons, and there's a special button that you press that releases viruses, into the atmosphere. You can decide which continent you want it to be at. There's even a lever there that you can move to decide what country it goes into. I mean, come on. I mean, this is just a stupid question. Everybody is doing the best they can. Everybody of goodwill is doing the best they can in a situation like this, which carries so many unknowns. Anybody have a crystal ball out there? I'm sure none of the Democrats sitting at their desks have a crystal ball, if they can find a place for it amidst all the body parts of the aborted babies. Who has a crystal ball? I mean, This man has exercised leadership. You know, when it comes to the virus, don't let anybody have a conversation about the president and the virus without you reminding them of a very simple fact. It was still the month of January. This thing didn't even have a name yet. And he cut off travel from China. It wasn't his advisors who were telling him to do that. It wasn't the health experts that were telling him to do that. He decided to do that. Cut off travel from China. And when you think about it, it's such a common sense thing. If this virus originated in China, and God knows how many people it affected over there by that time, stop them from coming into this country. Put a stop to it until we get a handle on what's going on here. That saved countless lives. And then he cut off shortly after that travel from Europe of non-American citizens, of course. You know, this is leadership. This is leadership for which we should be grateful. Who knows how many of us would have gotten infected if it had been Biden calling the shots. Because what he said when the president closed off the travel from China was that the president was being xenophobic. Biden doesn't know how to lead a glee club. He said, oh, it was xenophobic. Yeah, right. A lot of help he would have been in protecting us from the virus. Xenophobic. Xenophobic? What the heck is wrong with you? My goodness, xenophobic. It's xenophobic. There's a virus over there that you're trying to stop from entering the country. And all Biden can do is throw names around? Call people names? It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable, brothers and sisters. It's unbelievable. So, well, thanks for sharing with me tonight your time. I wanted to share that video with you. We'll be broadcasting each and every night. Each and every morning, we'll be having Mass, 10 a.m., and many of you are joining us for that. And we throw in some extra broadcasts, too. We had Alvita on this morning with a 9:15 a.m. prayer broadcast, and we try to do that at least once a week. And then Janet Morana is on in the afternoon. She shows us a lot of our past programming from a wonderful treasury of videos on a lot of different topics. It's really great. So endabortion.tv and all our associated platforms where you are watching now, be sure to tune in each day. So let me give you the Lord's blessing now tonight, my friends. May the Lord send you his blessing, protect you, answer all your prayers, and make you strong witnesses for our unborn brothers and sisters. May he bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And may he bless the United States of America and all the nations of the world. Good night, friends. This is Father Frank Pavone of Priests for Life.